It's part 2 of Fred's first drive of the Jeep 4xe. I have learned more. I've learned more information about this electric vehicle, and because like I said in the previous episode, I've never driven one before, and some of the information I gave you was incorrect, so I'm going to try and fix that. For starters, this thing has 370 miles of range. I said that 49 miles of that was on electric. That is not true. The Jeep will do about 21 miles on a complete charge. So if you plug this thing in and charge it, it'll do 21 miles before it needs the gas engine, the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder to kick in. And the way that works is there's an electric motor that's part of like the front serpentine system that helps turn the vehicle. That's the e-torque motor. And then there's another electric motor in between the engine and the transmission, basically where the torque converter would live, and that helps accelerate the vehicle. On acceleration, this thing has 470 pound-feet of torque, so it really will get up and go. Here is the trick. If you drive short distances and you can charge it regularly, you can drive a lot of range just on electric. So think about it like this. Say you buy this Jeep and you're gonna, over the next 2 weeks, you drive it 1,000 miles, which would be, say, 15 miles to work and 15 miles back, or whatever. And then when you get to work, there's a place you can plug it in. And then when you get home, there's a place you can plug it in. You could drive 1,000 miles and still have that same tank of gas, or almost that whole tank of gas, because it's always in the electric mode. Now, I'd also mentioned that there's like a universal plug system. That is not entirely true. If you go to a Tesla plug system, you can't plug that into the Jeep. But there are other plugs. There is like a universal style that apparently works with the Jeep, and you can get that system set up at your house, or there's a lot of plugs out in the different communities, and some of them are free. So basically, and when I say free, they're free to plug in and charge your car. Somebody's still paying for it. It's probably coming out of your tax dollars. But here's the other thing. There's a lot of places that give you a tax rebate on the Wrangler, the electric hybrid. So what that means is your state, your federal government, and maybe your local communities are putting in electric charging stations and making it free for people to use. If you buy one of these, you're basically getting the power that you are already paying for as a taxpayer. So, because I was kind of like, well, why is it free? And my buddy that I talked to was like, well, you're paying for it. Like, the government has just said that there should be X amount of free charging stations. That doesn't mean all of them are free. There are definitely ones that you have to pay for. And when you go to those charging stations, it usually takes like 2 or 2.5 hours to fully charge this thing to 100%, where you can have an adapter plug at home and plug into your 110 volt, and it'll take about 12 hours. So if you got home at 5 o'clock at night and had to go to work at 6 o'clock the next morning, or 8 o'clock, whatever, you should have enough time to plug it in and charge the whole 100%, which will get you a whole 21 miles of range. So, like I said, it's not the range that you're getting, it's the performance and the efficiency. And if you can find free electric charging stations near you, or near where you go to work, then it might be really beneficial for you to buy a 4xe, because you can probably practically drive this thing without having to ever put gas in it, or hardly ever put gas in it. Also, there's a thing called like heavy regenerative braking, or full-time regenerative braking, and that's a button down here underneath the center stack. And what that does is it basically makes this thing kind of work like a golf cart. Have you ever driven a golf cart, and when you take your foot off the gas pedal, it like slows down, and then you step on the gas and it goes, take your foot off and it slows down? That's what this heavy regenerative, it's like full-time regenerative braking. So it's constantly using the electric motors to backfeed charge the battery, and that will in fact help slow the car down. If you turn that off, then it has full-time regenerative braking, which means that every time you touch the brake pedal, it uses the motors to slow the vehicle down instead of the hydraulic brakes. Now, if you get to a point where you slam on the brakes, it will use the hydraulic brakes and stop the vehicle, just like a normal vehicle. So, what's the point of the story? The point of the story is, and the other thing that I mentioned prior was that this thing gets 49 mpge. And I asked my friends, well, what does that mean? And they're like, it's some weird convoluted system that is comparing equal amounts of energy from electricity to gasoline. And so they're saying when it's in electric mode, and maybe like full hybrid mode, it is comparative to having a vehicle that gets 49 miles per gallon. But that doesn't mean that it gets 49 miles per gallon on gas. It just means that this weird convoluted energy system says that it gets similar to 49 miles per gallon on electric, as if that was comparing the same amount of energy as in a gallon of gas. Very confusing. Not really sure that that is the part that is cool. I think the part that is cool is the fact that there's an electric motor in the front, a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder motor in the middle, another electric motor in the back, and a ZF 8-speed that gets 470 pound-feet to the ground, and this thing will boogie like a fun little sports car. I think it said 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, which is pretty rad. So I hope that answered some of the confusion. Maybe it made more confusion. At the end of the day, the Jeep 4xe, 4xe is a pretty neat alternative to a straight up gas engine. Hopefully the next time I do one of these, I will be able to compare it to a real gas engine, the Jeep 392, which I'm hoping to get my hands on eventually. That's it. We'll see you guys next time. Look, it peels out.